I'm gonna get myself a motor. Hello and welcome to Lunch Therapy. This is Joel Marshall, your host. Today is Interview Friday. Lunch Therapy is a show that happens Tuesdays and Fridays at noon. Fridays we have Interview Friday where we have guests. Today we have an exceptional guest, Christine Blackburn, who is a podcaster. She's a producer. She's a comic. She's an actor. Does a lot of stuff. Somebody that is just prolific in the podcasting world. Has a podcast called Storyworthy where she has people come on and tell stories. We're going to learn something about telling stories today, I think. Let's get into the show. Lunch Therapy. I got a couple of donkeys behind me, or mules, or... Yeah, they're looking good.
Hi. Get yourself some Trash Panda merch at Joe Marshall's Lunch Therapy.
All right, that was a good little ad there for Lunch Therapy merchandise. You can buy it below the show if you're on YouTube. Patreons, we want to say thank you to all the Patreons out there. Mike Knox, Todd Lee, Camila Lopez, Liz Lopez, Robert Lopez, lots of Lopez's. The Wolves are in the show. Jay Patterson, Ivy Palma, Pam Palmieri. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. And for contributing to the show, because a lot of times people who watch the show, we call them hummingbirds, and I don't know what's going on behind me, but looks like aliens. And this show couldn't happen without people like that, people that support live streaming, independent media. Really appreciate it. I also want to say on Tuesdays, we have a contest on the show. Tuesday's show is more of a variety show. I have a co-host. Her name is Jay Patterson. Maybe you might have seen her on Netflix, The Trust. She's the wacky one that eats potato chips in bed. But she is my co-host on Tuesdays, and we do a game show where we give away money. Yeah, right to your Venmo. Not a lot, $15, but it accumulates every week if somebody doesn't win it, because only one person can win. Only one person can win. So check that out. It's at noon on Tuesdays. Lunch Therapy on your local YouTube. Now let's breathe. Right. This is something we're going to breathe today. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. This is something from Manta Ray Meditations. It's an organization called Manta Ray Advocates in Hawaii, where you can go with them and go on a night swim with manta rays. And some of you are like, manta rays? Don't those things sting you? And isn't that what happened to that Steve guy that was the outdoorsman? And I'm like, no, manta rays are peaceful creatures. They don't have stingers. You're thinking of a stingray. And see, because I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking out there. Yeah, so these are manta rays. They're beautiful. This is some footage. You can also get some meditations there, like this one. Happy day, Todd. Todd Lee is here. Happy Friday. Camila Lopez. All right, let's do this thing. Let's breathe in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Howard Aronin is here. Howard. I have a comedian today, Christine Blackburn, who was also a flight attendant. Got a lot of flight attendants in the house today. Howard is a 40-year veteran of being a flight attendant, so that's pretty cool. One more, in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. You got to wonder if being a flight attendant drives you to either drink or do comedy or both. Who knows? But you got to have, one of the things we're probably going to learn from our guest today is you got to have stories. And I'm sure you get a lot of stories on the wing, as it were. By the way, Martina Wing is the manta ray advocates person. We have an interview with her early on in the show. Check it out if you want to learn more about manta rays. They're amazing creatures. All right, let's get into this thing. Okay, so here we go. This is Lunch Therapy, Interview Friday. All the explanations have been made about what we're doing here. We've been doing it for about 5 years. People in the chat room are called hummingbirds. Kamala says, they're so beautiful, but I think I would be scared to swim with them. They are huge. Yeah, some of these manta rays are large. But apparently they're like dogs. And you can tell them apart. They have personalities. They're super fun. I'd be afraid to go in the water. I'm so afraid to go in the water. I think that a shark's going to eat me. Girl got her hand bit off a little while ago. I saw it on the news last night. I don't know. But I still love sharks. I just don't love them biting me. Todd says, you can be driven to drink, but never drink to drive. Drink to be driven. That's some deep shit, Todd Lee. They also jump out of the water and fly. Saw one in Kihei, Maui. Oh. Yeah, manta rays are cool. I think we can all agree manta rays are cool. I think we can also agree that Christine Blackburn is super cool as well. Not only was she a flight attendant, she worked for the Peace Corps. She has all kinds of stories from that. She's a storyteller. She survived cancer. She has a child. She raised a whole child. And she's a dynamic force in the world of storytelling, comedy, and podcasting. She's the creator and host of the long-running podcast Storyworthy, which is going to be hitting 15 years old next month. So let's hear it for Christine in that area. That's amazing to me. It's amazing. I've been podcasting for a long time, but consistently doing one for nobody does that. She's unique, outstanding in her field. She has over 800 episodes, and she brings on all kinds of people like Larry King, Sugar Ray Leonard, Kevin Nealon, all to tell stories with humor, heart, humanity. She's from Pittsburgh. Well, she's from a town near Pittsburgh. My family's from Pittsburgh as well. She went to Duquesne University. Let's get her on the show. Let's have her talk about herself. All right, let's do this thing. Interview Friday. Cougars love Gorp. Kihei. All right.
Thank you for tuning in. I am so happy you could join us because in the next few minutes, you will learn about a powerful new breakthrough piece of technology that can dramatically change your life and the lives of your loved ones forever.
Thank God.
It's the original Triple Candy Machine, the Hideaway Platter, the Raging Monkey, the Amazing Foot Rocker. It's the amazing 3-in-1 rolling mincer with tenderizer and garlic press. That's real cat urine.
All right. I forgot to tell them that you've done over 100 commercials. Welcome to Lunch Therapy. Yeah.
Thank you, Joel. That one, The World's Best Cat Litter, that has over like 500,000 views on YouTube because it's so absurd.
It is absurd. I use The World's Best Cat Litter for my cat. So.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. I don't eat it though. I try to stay away from it.
It's so expensive.
It is so expensive, but something about it. It also, I think bugs like it too, which is not so great. It's not so great, but you know, it's natural. I guess it's all natural. Well, you know what happened is I originally started.
Clay.
I originally started getting it from the feed store a long time ago. Like you could get like a huge bag of that stuff because they feed it to horses. And I don't know where I went wrong, but I think it was I got tired of having that gigantic bag of corn feed. Well, anyway, it's great to see you. Great to have you on the show. I have seen your work at the Fourth Wall mainly. That's where I hang out and you hang out. And it's great. It's great to connect with you finally. Now, I do want to talk about your show, Storyworthy, from the beginning here, right off the bat, so people that might not have heard it know about it.
That was so nice of you to talk about my show, Storyworthy.
There it is.
I've been doing it for 15 years. And Joel, I have made hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds? Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So what drives you? You've obviously been doing it for 14 years. Not obviously, but I just said you had. What drives you if it's not the money?
Well, it was just because it's fun and it's interesting and I like to talk to people and I'm very good at interviewing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, kind of partly entertainment and then, of course, trying to make money, which I was joking, of course, but it is really difficult to do.
Yeah.
And just kind of natural curiosity. And since I'm not on a sitcom and I don't have a late night talk show, well, you have to do what you can do. So that's what I've been doing.
Did you didn't start out to be an entertainer, is that right? When you first graduated from Duquesne University, did you go, I'm going to go out and be an entertainer, but I'm going to wait till I'm 31 and move to Los Angeles? What was the plan?
Yeah, really. There was no plan. I just knew I didn't want to stay in Pittsburgh where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was a waitress in college and then that sort of went right into being a flight attendant because it's very similar.
Oh, I see.
And I was based in DC and I was based in Baltimore, but then I ended up in Pittsburgh as a flight attendant. So I did that for 7 years.
Wow.
And at some point in there, I was married for just a very short time, like a minute.
Yeah.
And then quickly divorced. And after 7 years of flying, I got, I found out, first of all, Joel, I was never going to be the pilot.
Really? There's not a step ladder that you go?
Right.
No?
So I was like, this is crazy. Then I resigned. I resigned from flying just because it really is a pretty boring job. And what you do on the first day is what you do on the last. It's the same job over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I left and I applied to the Peace Corps and I got accepted. So I went to the Peace Corps.
Wow. Now, was the Peace Corps, this is something I always wonder about, was the Peace Corps as advertised? Is it do you really feel first of all, were you just I would need to help the world? Is that why you joined the Peace Corps, or what made you do it? And then is it what you expected?
It was what I expected. It was pretty much what I expected.
Yeah.
But I had already flown kind of all over the world and I'd been a lot of places and, it was just too many nice hotels. I just got tired of great food.
Yeah.
Places to stay. And I decided I wanted to do something more. So I applied. It took over a year to get in. And then I wanted to take a leave of absence from the airline, but they wouldn't let me. So I ended up resigning from the airline and I went to the Peace Corps and they sent me down to Tonga, which is in the South Pacific.
Wow. And was that...
It's a small, the whole country is only 100,000 people. There's more people in Costco on a Tuesday. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was sent to an island with only 67 people.
Oh my God.
So it was very remote, no electricity, no running water.
Do you train to do this or?
Yes. You're in training for 7 weeks. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what is the goal in being in the Peace Corps? What is the...
Well, it depends on what your career is,
Yeah.
Mine was, I was teaching English as a second language, which is kind of like the bottom rung of the hierarchy in Peace Corps.
Yeah.
Speaking English, because frankly, Tongans have a lot bigger problems than learning
English. Did you, when you made that choice to join the Peace Corps, was there something in your life that like was the catalyst to that besides being bored with being a flight attendant?
Not really.
Really? Are you
No,
that kind of a
really.
person that you like kind of, it's weird because you seem like you're impulsive, but you're also somebody that can stick to something for a long time.
Yeah, I was flying for so long and just so much traveling, and I had a lot of boyfriends, and it was just kind of crazy. I was living a really fast, crazy life, and I just wanted to pull back. And like I said, it took a year to apply. So
Yeah.
while I was applying and having interviews and a physical and teaching, I was already teaching English as a second language because you got to volunteer
Yeah.
here first.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of times I could have changed my mind. That's what I guess I'm saying.
Wow.
But I really wanted to. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make a difference. And when you go overseas like that to spend 27 months, you're under the umbrella of the Peace Corps. So there is a bit of a safety net, if as it were. It wasn't just me going around Europe with a backpack or going around Australia with a backpack. In other words, I was with an organization that kind of places you in a village that gives you the job. So there was some things already in place. But it's not easy explaining why there's a K in knife to a 10-year-old holding a machete. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Very
very,
hard to explain.
very purposeful to do that. You talk about being a flight attendant. I'm going to play a little clip here of that because
Okay.
it sounds like a wildlife. And I don't know whether you're embellishing it or what, but
I flew for an airline called U.S. Air. Did you guys ever hear that? Yeah. Some people called it U.S. Scare. I don't know why. I was only in 14 accidents. But it was very different back then. Number one, we did not have credit cards on the plane. We only had cash. So you'd be going up and down the aisle collecting money, for alcohol, $5, $4, $5. You put it in your pocket, your purse, your suitcase. You fly for 3-4 days. You could have thousands of dollars. You get back to your base, you got to turn it in. I'm not saying I didn't turn it all in. I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm not saying flight attendants stole money. I didn't steal any money. But I do have a boat in Marina del Rey. And I named it Headsets.
That's a good joke.
that is a good joke. I like
What
that
is?
one. I like
That's
that
a
one.
good joke.
I like that one. Okay. So you moved to Los Angeles. Well, you had cancer first, right? You got helicoptered out of there.
When I was in the Peace Corps, I was actually there, and I got ill when I was there.
Wow.
And so
That
at
was
some
the
point, I
end
got
of it.
medevaced back to the States, and then I was diagnosed with cancer. So it was very shocking, a very abrupt turn of events. And after going through surgery and chemotherapy and all that, I went back to the airline. I tried to get my job back, but they wouldn't give it to me.
Oh my gosh.
They said no. They said if you come back, you'd start at the bottom of the seniority, and it's all about seniority. So I couldn't go back to the Peace Corps because there's no electricity where I was, and I needed scans and stuff for years. So I couldn't go back to the Peace Corps, and then I couldn't go back to flying. So it's like, oh wow, now what?
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be an actress or a comedian or something like that.
You did. You always wanted that, but it's just like you didn't.
Yeah.
And why did
But
you
I was
not go
afraid.
after it? You were afraid. Okay.
I was more afraid to go to Los Angeles than a third world country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And rightly so.
And rightly so. Good instincts. Good instincts.
Anyway, so that's when I decided, well, I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I had no hair, I didn't have anything. And it'll be 28 years in August. So I'm really glad I'm here. I love it here.
What an incredible, most people, I guess maybe, was it just like you're close to death, so you're like, now nothing scares me?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really, what could be the problem?
Did you feel like you had any kind of enlightenment in that? You know how people have these like near-death experiences, and then they have like their mind kind of opens up into like a different kind of.
I mean, no, not really. I mean, if the airline had taken me back, I probably would have gone back. Like, I don't know. I just because it really came down to I didn't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
And I've been to LA. I dated a guy out here in my neighborhood, actually, Los Feliz. So that's how I kind of knew to come to this area.
Yeah.
Because I dated a guy who lived over here, and I knew I liked this area. And but I didn't know anybody, and I just drove around and I stayed at this really terrible motel in Burbank, right by Frank's coffee shop. It's still there.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It would, and I'd been in, thousands of hotels as a flight attendant, but at this little place in Burbank, and I didn't know anybody. It was so small and the walls were so thin. It was all so cheap. I pushed the dresser up against the door when I went to bed.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just like, this was all new to me. I didn't know. I thought somehow Olive Avenue was dangerous. I didn't know.
Well, I think probably a lot of people think Los Angeles is super dangerous. Like,
I know.
I've had
and
people
it's
come
certainly
stay
not.
at my house and be like worried. You know what I mean? Like just seriously worried. Because I think that's what the media puts out. Or maybe we put it out.
It's
Maybe
just-
we as like Hollywood puts that out too.
It's silly. And there's just nothing like that. Anyway, and then I drove around, saw a sign, got an apartment, and then, boom, 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 and just started working. I didn't have any hair, so I couldn't get any pictures taken. I couldn't get an agent or anything like that, but I started doing stand-up because, again, what are you going to say? No?
Yeah.
You can't,
Yeah.
you can't really get turned down.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about stand-up too, is it's all you. Do you
It's all
think,
you. So
are
you
you-
work is what you get out of it.
are you a person that collaborates with other people very often, or do you generally go out on your own?
Yeah, I do in that I produce, I produce Story Smash,
Yeah.
my game show, and that's a cast, as it were, a cast of 9, well, including me, so it's 8. So, but it's, so I have to collaborate there a lot by booking the guests and booking the judges.
Yeah.
And then I also teach a storytelling class, and after the class, we do a showcase.
Yeah.
And
And that's at Flappers?
yeah, and that's a storytelling thing. So the class is only 3 hours long, but then I stay with these students and they send me their scripts back and forth, as it were, and I help them. So I kind of go above and beyond. But if I didn't, they
Yeah.
would all suck because it takes a long time to get a story together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what would you do? Like, how did you get into storytelling? I'm going to just put a little...
That storytelling is a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. Oh,
Yeah.
there's
I
Story
started
Smash.
storytelling like 2009, 2008, a long time ago.
Yeah. So
And-
you had a lot of stories to tell? Did you just
I had a
naturally
lot
start...
of stories to tell,
Yeah.
and it was a lot easier than stand up at the time.
Was that...
Storytelling's obviously easier than stand up, right? Yes.
Yeah, because you're not expected to get a laugh every 5 seconds. So, yeah, it does ease up things a little bit. But also, you still have to captivate. I have had, on this show, we had a week early on when we first started the show where we had people come on and tell stories. And what I learned is some people can really tell a story, and other people, they just kind of tell you like an event, and that's it. And there's not really a story. They don't know how to do it. It doesn't come naturally
It's
to
so
everyone.
common. Well, you have to work on it. It has to be crafted. And the good news is you can keep working on it because storytelling is an art. And so it keeps changing.
Yeah.
And the story you tell today will be a little different tomorrow. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. So one of the things that I think it's Greg Dean who says this is that you don't memorize the words of the story or the routine. You memorize the images. And I think
Oh,
that's
I
so
love that.
important. Isn't that great? Because
Yeah, I never heard that.
he's like, when you tell a story to your friends, you don't have a script that you're telling. You're seeing the events occur as you do it.
Love it.
And that also makes your eyes go a certain way. It makes it, changes everything completely. Like he says that,
Watch that. I'm going to write it down.
write it
Watch-
down. Yeah.
I am. I love it.
I mean, he says a lot of times comedians, you can see them look down a lot of times, and it's because they're in their mind, they're looking at a paper. But then the person who's actually experienced it, their eyes are like more up. And
love
You know what I
that.
mean? I love that too. I think that's a really good point.
I just wrote it down.
Did you do the Moth? Is that like you won the Moth
Yeah,
a couple
I did.
times,
So
right?
I would do it. I would do it pretty often. But it's a very tricky thing because they give you a topic, So you got to pay, you got to have a story to go with the topic. Then you have to go to the gig and pay 15, 17 bucks to get in. I had a child at the time, so I'm paying for a babysitter. And then you go and they choose 10 people and you might not even get chosen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even if you are chosen, you might be chosen. And then the guy after you just fell out of a tree and is in a wheelchair and they win.
They win. They
So a lot of things have to align
Yeah.
for somebody to win the moth. And I guess I'm only saying that because I don't like when people put levity on, oh, a Moth SLAM winner. Because it really, I've won 3 times.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because a lot of things have to happen for you to win. And it's not really about your talent. It's about a lot of other things going on.
What would you say is a good piece of advice for people that are going out to tell stories? Maybe they're not somebody who performs, but they
Well,
have the urge.
Practice, of course. I always tell my students to just, practice right into your phone in the voice memo of your phone. And so that the most important thing is to say it over and over again. And then also, write it down. I don't know how you would write a story. I don't know how you would formulate a story if it's not on paper. I just don't
Really?
see it. I don't know how it happens. And then choose the right story, It has to be a story that changes something. Something changes. So it's like a moment like you found out somebody was lying to you. Or you picked up the phone, your mother died. Or somebody breaks up with you. Or car accident, or something has to go. So it has to be like,
Yeah.
and then we get to the end of the story. So
Wait,
it's
it's
one piece.
D. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that
It
because
doesn't
I
have to
think,
be a bad thing. It can
Yeah.
be, then the baby was born.
yeah.
See?
And it's like a scene in a movie. Basically, the character comes in, something changes, it propels them to the next scene. And that's essentially what you're doing with story.
You got it.
And why do you think do you ever get where people just can't naturally tell a story and you have to like really give them like a structure, like beginning, middle, and end? And
Oh, yeah, all the time. All the time. Because what happens is they write it down and they write it in past tense, first of all.
oh yeah,
They write it like, so then that happened.
yeah,
So they're not in it, right?
Yeah,
Because it already happened, and they write it like a prose, I guess you would say. A lot of people don't know what they're doing.
That's why you have a
people don't even
class.
People don't even have the beginning, middle, end.
yeah,
Don't tell us a story about how drunk you were, because we don't care.
yes,
Don't tell us a story about how you and your friends went out and did drugs, and it was so funny.
yeah.
It's not funny to us.
That's so true, though. And you see that with comics sometimes too, where they tell you a story that they think you are going to find hilarious, but it's more like aggrandizing their debauchery or something like that, and you're just like,
Right.
I don't really want to hear about it. Like, and I
They
don't
need
I
to
don't
get
know what that feeling
validated.
is as an audience member, but you're just kind of like, it sounds like you're having fun. You had fun at this thing, but I'm not really a part of
Right.
it.
Right. They need validated. They're needy. Something's going on. The other thing is don't try to be original because there's no original stories. So don't even think it.
Well,
Don't
I
even
think that also might be something that prevents people from doing things sometimes because they feel like they're not special enough.
Right.
And so they
Right.
just don't
And
do it.
tiny stories can be really interesting. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to play a clip where you doing comedy, but being very open.
Uh-oh.
It's not that bad.
True, I do. I have a podcast. I've been podcasting
Here
actually,
we
you
go.
guys, for
Hundreds of
14
dollars.
years. I have made hundreds of dollars. I recently turned 50. And then a few months ago, I turned 58. So here we are. Yeah, people say you look good for your age, Christine. What do? What are your secrets? There's no secrets. I'll tell you what I do. I get a lot of sleep, and I drink a lot of water, and I had my eyes lifted, a nose job, and my teeth are capped. But I think it's the water. That's what it is.
Ooh, I like that bumper.
Dinosaur train.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. So one of the things I think that's important in what we were talking about is that sometimes it's not about being special. It's about connecting with the people in the audience on their level, however they're experiencing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think
that's hard to do? That's hard to do.
It is.
That's as if to say I have time to check out the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you do that when you go up and do stand-up comedy? Do you sometimes change, like when you're sitting in the green room or whatever, do you sometimes change your set because you're like, oh, that's this kind of audience?
No, I look for people I can have my standard jokes. You know what I mean? Like, how old are you? And I know they're young.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can say, I have tennis balls older than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Do you do that? Do you crowd work?
Yeah. But I mean, you look ahead of time. Most comics do.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the audience, who's going up, who's in there, who's out there.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Well, one of the things that people say about hosts is that one of the jobs of the host is to suss out who's in the audience. That's why they like talk to the audience a lot for the comics, like the headliner who's coming on.
I don't know about that. There's different schools of thought regarding that. Because some people would say, at Flappers, actually, back to Flappers, they teach a class in hosting. And one of the things they say is, don't be funny in between acts, because the next your job is to facilitate this show.
Yeah.
And the next comic coming up, let them get the laugh. In other words, those audience questions, that's like softball comedy.
Yeah.
The audience work, that's softball to a comedian, right? It's not that hard to be funny with somebody who doesn't even have the microphone.
Yeah.
So as a host, you're not the one supposed to get the laughs. You're just supposed to move it along.
Interesting that you say that.
I know.
Because I think some people as hosts are like, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to do little jokes in between the sets.
But I think it depends on the gig and if you're supposed to be the comedian host or the facilitating host. I mean, a lot of times the showrunner will say, do your 10 minutes at the top and then move the show along.
Yeah.
That means do time and don't do those jokes in the middle, because another comic will get it anyway. You know, you don't always have to be the one that gets the joke. It's sort of a total, I don't know, it's a total of the show. Is it a good show?
I think you're right too. I do think sometimes the host will make a joke at the expense of somebody who just went too, which is the worst thing you can possibly do. Or make a joke about the next person. You know, like they'll say this person has a Netflix special and they don't have one, but they're just being like, ha ha ha. And,
I don't get that.
And then you're like,
I don't get
and
that.
I think that's the worst thing that and I think a lot of times what we're talking about here is we're talking about these kind of showcases where everybody's doing like 6 minutes, because the host is really important to set that up in the beginning as like, these are some really special acts and you're going to be really excited about these. Rather than degrade the comics right at the top of the show, which is the worst. I hate it when I'm in a show and then the host just degrades everybody before we get on. And then we're like digging ourselves out of a hole.
Well, the tone is definitely set by the person who's broken down the fourth wall and is actually sitting there and saying, oh, hi, nice to see you, nice to see you, nice to see you. You guys, the bathrooms are over there. And if you want to, get the waitress, just hit the... So that person is like supposed to be on their side. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be on the side of the audience. You're together watching these talents,
Yeah.
So I think it's like trickles down, like keep it professional. I don't know. I'm old school. What do I know?
Okay, so now you are not only a host, you are a host of a podcast and a host of Story Smash.
Yeah.
What is that like? Like, okay, so this is my question. For story, Story Smash, which I want to hear about.
Let's put on the Story Smash cap. Okay,
let's do it. Let's talk story. Well, let's talk story worthy first of all. How do you decide that your guests are going to have a story that's worthy of story worthy? Do you prep them? Do you ask them? I never
ask. I don't care what they're going to bring to the table. It just doesn't matter.
Really? So you're surprised every time.
Please tell a true story between 10 and 12 minutes. Because I don't want them to think it has to be 10. And I don't want them to think it can be over 15 or 20. It's too much. So 10 to 12. Oh, and a true story. What should it be about? I could care less.
Really?
It just doesn't matter.
Do you ever get somebody on there that just says the most vulgar story you ever heard? And you're like, I don't know about this.
No, not
No.
really.
Do you
I mean,
ever get
people
somebody that tells the story and it's just like, blah? They just say it and then you're like,
I don't
what are we
know.
going to
I mean,
do for the rest of the time?
If somebody wants to be a guest on a show, like
Yeah.
you asked me to be on the show, and I
Yeah.
said yes,
Yeah.
that means I want to be here,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to mess it up, or I just wouldn't have bothered to come.
Yeah.
So it's the same when you say, can you come on and tell a story, any story you want? I mean, I don't think they're going to bring a horrible story because why would they?
I don't
And
know.
what do
You
they
know, some
do?
comedians, they just want to tell you but maybe they're not pros. You get a lot of pros.
I
on
don't
there.
know.
You get
I don't
a lot
know. I
of
mean, I guess
professionals.
that could happen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
In
It's just
600 episodes, it's never happened.
850
850, sorry. 850.
Some stories aren't great, but
Yeah.
again, who cares? It's 45 minutes of my life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
I like
I'll
that.
worry
Why be
about
so
that.
precious? Why be so
Right.
precious? Okay, so
Right.
Story Smash. Did Story Smash start during COVID?
no.
Sorry,
I
before
started
that.
Story Smash in 2011. Long time ago.
Wow.
No, long time ago. It was pretty much right after Storyworthy
Mm-hmm.
because I started, we were talking about the length of stories. I remember it was all about the length of stories. And I was saying, you can tell any story in 1 minute. You really can. You need
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a
in
minute,
1 minute. Any story.
any story.
Really?
1 minute.
I couldn't tell
Yeah,
you about
and
the time
so-
I went to Alaska in 1 minute. I don't think I could.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that is why did you go? What was
Yeah.
it like? And then what did you learn or what did
Yeah.
you take away? You know? Anyway, and I've always been a big fan of wheels, like prize wheels.
I love it too.
And in fact, during Halloween, my sister made this wheel at her house, and her husband made it, and it had like little nails around, so it would like tick, 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 tick,
So cool.
and it would be little pie shapes, and she would paint it for Halloween, like orange, black, white, and then depending on what the child would come up, spin the wheel, and if they landed on this one thing, they would get this large candy bar. So that's what the whole thing was based
Yeah,
off of.
yeah.
That my sister
Your
had
show
this
was based off your sister's Halloween wheel.
a little game that children would line up around the block just because everybody wanted to spin the goddamn wheel.
Yeah.
And I wanted to spin it too.
Yeah. We used to, when we'd see one of those like in a mall or something like that, we'd
Yeah.
go and we'd spin it and we'd go, changing people's lives. Because it's like, whatever you do to this wheel is going to change the future, you know?
Hilarious.
And I love that kind of feeling about it. Now, so they spin the wheel, a topic comes up, and then the person has to tell us 1 minute story.
Yeah, a true 1 minute story, and then there's a clock. But let me tell you two things. I want to tell you two things.
Two things, okay.
First of all, I wanted to get this wheel, but that's not easy to get a wheel. So I went to Riverside Promo Wheels and I saw the wheel I wanted and I gave them my colors, I gave them the titles, and it came back $680.
I bet.
Which I did not have. So I ended up selling, and I had a child too, so I
Yeah.
couldn't just, take money. And I ended up selling my gold jewelry. I sold all the gold jewelry I had, and I got about $650, and that's how I bought the wheel.
That is dedication.
And then the clock, the countdown clock,
Yeah.
was $88. I did not have that money either.
Oh, no.
I sold my breast pump.
Oh, whoa. That is dedication. And that's how you started
Thank you.
Story Smash.
And that's right. And I'm driving around Los Angeles with a prize wheel in my Subaru trunk. I mean,
It's cool. That's cool.
but we did the show for years at El Cid, at Fado Do, at many different places we did it. And we did it at the Improv for like 6 years. And now we're actually at the Lyric Hyperion.
I love the Lyric
which
Hyperion.
is
It's a
Silver
cool
Lake.
place.
Yeah.
That is such a great place. I love the whole attitude that goes on there and at the Elysian and all these different places. Are you getting involved in that kind of culture then? The Lyric Hyperion culture? Or
I don't know. What do you mean by culture? I'm
Well,
not
there
sure.
seems to be, I definitely on this show, we've explored it a lot. There seems to be a clown movement that is, and there are a lot of shows at the Lyric Hyperion where they're like very avant-garde, experimental
Oh yeah, they've
shows.
got a lot of eclectic stuff. Yeah,
And
I don't.
yours is probably one of them now. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's just a game show. I mean,
Yeah, but it's a very distinct game show. Do your guests ever just freeze up?
totally,
Really?
absolutely, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's really. Fun.
And what have you learned from interviewing people? Like what are some of your techniques that you've learned over the years from interviewing so many people?
Well, I was just talking about this with somebody this morning
Really?
because there's two schools of thought. One is don't know anything about the guest and
Yeah.
then start asking questions and learn from the guest. I do not agree with that.
Me either.
And that was Larry King's viewpoint.
Really?
But he was Larry King.
Yeah, but
right?
I used to listen to Larry King when I was a little kid, the late night Larry King radio program. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I was always amazed by, and I don't mean to contradict what you're saying, and you know him, or you knew him, he always had read the book.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
And
yeah.
I was always like amazed. How does this guy have time
Yeah.
to stay up all night and then read the book of every guest that comes on?
Well, that's true. I guess I mean like Larry was a really naturally curious. Hello, Seattle.
Hello, Seattle. There we go. Yeah. Hello.
Cleveland. Hello. He was a naturally curious person, and he would
Yeah.
often have people on that he knew nothing about. Now,
He
if
would.
they wrote a book or they did a show, he might have seen that.
Yeah.
But he was so good at what he did, and he was also very good at long form interview from going all the way back. So you were born in Ohio, like that.
Yeah. Yep.
So I really admired him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to interview him 2 times, and he also came on Story Smash.
Yeah, I saw that. He came on Story
really
Smash.
funny.
How cool is that?
Yeah, and I got to go to his house in Beverly Hills and stuff. So it was really a great man. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't purport to be anything like that. I don't have those skills. I don't have that longevity. So
Yeah.
when I have somebody on my show, I already know everything about them. And then I try to ask the questions they haven't already answered 1,000 times.
Yes. And that can be difficult, especially when somebody has a podcast where they have 800 episodes. That can be
Yeah,
difficult.
no. I know, but if you listen to my podcast, it's not about me.
No, I mean, no, it's definitely about other people.
you
Although
wanna
you
learn about
do solo ones as
Yeah,
well.
but you would listen to, if you wanted to learn about me, you would look on to shows I've already been on and
Yes.
try to figure out the latest one,
Yeah.
2025 or 2024.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was looking into, I'd always go for the latest thing first.
Yeah.
But I guess I just, I had on like Richard Marx, right?
Yeah.
And he's really accomplished.
Oh, yeah.
I can't have that dude on and go back to square one. That is
Yeah.
just not cool.
That is not cool.
on.
You'll never get through it.
It's terrible. Why
Yeah.
would he do that? You don't want to be on with me if I do that.
But also you are also introducing Richard Marx to your audience who might not know who that is. And
Yeah,
so
well-
sometimes you have to kind of set it up, or maybe that's on them.
Well, no, I always do a bio. I always read, a bio, essentially of the person. Not super long, but a pretty good length bio. So they do know that,
Yeah.
going in. I definitely list their accomplishments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to say, what is this new show, White Lotus, you're on? I've never heard of it.
Right.
And that's crazy, especially because I do know.
Yeah.
So I think if you're lying like straight out, like just now when you already said like, Christine, you've done this, 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 and this.
Mm-hmm.
If you had said to me, what have you done since you've been in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I would have said, we're having difficulties. I can't
Right.
see you. And my
Right.
computer's shutting down. I'm losing internet.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
my time is too valuable to
I
go
love that.
that far back.
Well, and I've also sometimes gone on somebody else's show and they've been like, Joel Marshall, tell us about yourself.
Is that
Just like-
Joel with a J?
Yeah, exactly. Like and you realize it like right when you get in there, you're like, oh no, now I'm here. And that's what I love about when you came on this show before the show. I was like, let me tell you about the show. And you're like, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so, but that doesn't always happen. That never happens to me. Actually, the people have seen it.
I guess I'm just not that big of a pro that I wouldn't.
Todd Lee says, "Tell us about how your parents met."
What does Dad like about your mom?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is too, I think as an interview, and this is not a good example of it today, but how you start the interview makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so what are some of your tips for starting, or do you have any tips for starting?
Well,
an interview?
I don't like start like that because my show Storyworthy,
Yeah.
I ask people to bring a story to the table. So that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about. So
yeah.
let's say you said, Christine, I'm going to be on your show tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster.
Mm-hmm.
So when I opened the show, I would be like, hey, it's Christine Blackburn. Today on the show, I have Joel Marshall. He's talking about the Loch Ness Monster, and then I would just talk about that.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, oh, he's here right now. Hey, Joel, how's it going? And then he'd say, fine. And I'd ask him a few little things. And I'd say, okay, great. Well, let's get over to your story. Then I'd do his bio. And then he'd go into his story. So in other words, I purposefully made a show where the guest tells me what they want to talk about. That's a
good idea.
It's not, I don't do long form interview.
How did you know that I wanted to talk about the Loch Ness Monster? That's the weird thing. Like, I didn't know you knew that I was into cryptozoology so much.
Well, the dinosaurs a little earlier.
Oh, yeah, I guess that does kind of put it together.
Dinosaur train.
You're just very perceptive, perceptive. Well, that makes a lot of sense, I think, for what you're doing. So, what about the show that is about the 3 songs?
Okay, so
Now,
that's
tell
the
us
best-
about it. Is that a new one? My Life in
That's the
3
best
songs.
thing I've ever done in my life. My
The
life
best
in 3
thing.
songs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Let's hear about
it
it.
is. It's by far my best thing I've ever done.
I love that.
You could still get it on Spotify, but only on your phone. You can't get it on the desktop. Just the
Why
just
is
your
it? I'm
phone.
going to ask you that first. Why is it uniquely on Spotify? Did you have like a
Because
deal
they
with them?
allowed me to because they allowed me to use their publishing rights for music.
Oh, so that way you can play the songs.
All right.
And you have a
So that's
playlist
so-
on your website too of like some of the songs that people have, so you can like kind of prep yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk to comedians about the 3 songs in their life that have impacted them. Not their favorite songs, but songs that made a difference, songs that bring back memories and show you a place and a time. Hold on, please.
Yeah.
My neighbor Elmo. Hold on, please.
Okay.
That take you back to a place and a time and that really paint a picture of how the comedian grew up. Specifically comedians, because that's who I know. I know
Yeah.
comedians. And specifically 3 songs. So it really, I had so many fabulous guests. I mean,
Sounds
Judy
great.
Gold
Yeah.
and Adam Ferrara and really wonderful guests. Patton Oswalt was on, and Brad Williams. So I had on Margaret Cho, great comedians. But Spotify ended that program. It was a program called Music Plus Talk, where you could use our music and combine it with talk. But they don't have it anymore. It lasted for 2 years, and now they don't have it.
Oh, wow. That's a
So
shame.
my show remains. My show remains. You could still listen. I did 54 interviews.
Oh, well, that's a lot.
It is a lot. But again, that's not long form interview, right? That's like, Margaret Cho, take me back to that sitcom you had in the 80s. Like, no. And the people who did the show even said to me, I'm only doing this
Yeah.
because it's about the 3 songs that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for any other reason. It's too much to keep talking to people about the same things.
Oh, yeah. If you're somebody that's a very famous person and you've been on a bunch of those, it's like
You're
after a
not gonna
while.
do it.
When I started
Right.
podcasting, which was in 2005, people were not really doing, except on Larry King or Fresh Air, people were really not doing long form interviews. So
Right.
it was actually very cathartic, I think, to a lot of people. Like I interviewed Leonard Nimoy at his house.
Wow.
And he went through his whole life, and people don't know his whole life. You know, they don't know him as a photographer. They don't know him as a director. A lot of times, they just know him as Spock or whatever. And it was such an experience, I think, for him
Yeah.
to go through that. But now it's
People were
much more
talking-
common.
Yeah, you were talking about something that he doesn't get to talk about.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And so that was cool.
Yeah.
But I do see what you, see what you mean today, because, and that's what I do too, is I go back and when I'm interviewing somebody, I go back and look at all their interviews and I'm like, okay, what can I ask them about? And the other thing is, if you can surprise them somewhere along the line, or they can surprise themselves.
Yeah.
That's like,
yeah,
the
like
best.
nobody ever asked me that. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I did it, you know?
Yeah.
And I also always had a list of questions that I wanted to ask, but it doesn't mean that I would ask.
Right.
It would only if the conversation isn't going well, or if I need somewhere else to go, then I knew I could look at the list, but I didn't necessarily.
You can't have the list and
No.
just go through the list, because
Because
you're
then
not listening. Jinx. And it's obvious to people that you're not listening and you're not engaged. It's much better to be like, I don't know what I'm going to say next, because it depends on what you're going to say next.
Right. Big
Yeah.
time.
I think
Yeah,
that's so
you know
true.
what you're doing.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. Do you ever feel like you know what you're doing? Really?
Oh, I do sometimes, and then I make the stupidest mistakes. Well, in LA, I still get lost. About twice a month, I get lost. How does that happen? I've been here
I don't
almost
know.
30 years.
My wife is always like, don't do the map thing every time. Like, I'm now, even if I'm going someplace I know, I always do the map thing. And
Well,
I
that's
try and
just
follow it.
efficiency.
I think
That's
it's
just
efficiency too. Yeah. Because it tells me stuff that I don't know what's going on. Or sometimes I think I know where I'm going and then I don't. And then we get there and then we're late or whatever.
I agree.
Do you write?
I do write, but I write mostly like I carry around notepads, right? So here's a notepad. So I'll write like, oh, wait, let me think of that. And I'll jot it down.
Yeah.
And then the next day in comedy, because I go to comedy every day,
Yeah.
I'll see like little pieces of paper like this in the bottom of my purse. But I know each one has something I can use.
Yeah.
So I'm like scattering, and then I'll try it. And if it works, it goes in the notebook.
And then it's in the notebook.
I mean, I write, but I don't sit down and write for 2 hours like Jerry Seinfeld says he does every day. I don't know.
Jerry Seinfeld is just a blowhard these days. He's
That's
always
what he
telling
says he
people
does.
how it is. He should have a permanent waving finger that just is
Right,
there
I have
waving
no
at
idea.
us.
I just jot things down when it sounds funny, and then I'm over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I'll see if I can work it out, if I can develop it, but that's in open mics.
Todd Lee says, why is it called a podcast? And I'm sure he does not mean that. Us late 50s folks get lost because they no longer publish the Thomas Guide. Yes, it's sad. But mine was missing pages.
I was on page 632.
Oh,
And it was
congratulations.
always hanging out of my book
Yes.
because I used it all the time.
The one you use all the time is the one that got destroyed. Yeah. And it was expensive. I think it was like $50.
Oh,
or
yeah, they
something.
were like $38.
It's like crazy.
I have mine. I have mine from 1997 when I moved here.
I used to have an actor kit that I said I was going to market to people. It was like a box that had the Thomas Guide in it, a button-down shirt, just in case you got called on an audition.
No, that is hilarious.
It had like everything you needed, a highlighter. Yeah.
Oh, that's really funny.
Well, I think that actually being a comedian, a lot of times to be a successful comedian, you have to be super organized after a while. Like you can go out there and just blow out, talk, which is great and I love it. But then to like try and organize it into like a special, you have to be super
I
organized.
don't know. I'm going to have my first special next year. Next
You
year
are?
is the
Have you just set the goal? And
goal
some
is in print. The train wheels are moving. Yes.
I think it's
train-
great to set a goal like that, even if it scares the shit out of you,
Yeah.
because it just
No,
makes you
I
move
have
towards
to.
it. Yeah, you have to.
I have to, yeah. Some people have when they say they have a 1 hour show.
Yeah.
Joel, how many minutes of material do you think that means?
That means like 10 minutes of solid material and the rest, all the shit that they have said over the years.
No, but seriously,
No,
do you think
okay.
an hour special?
Yeah.
First of all, is it really 50 minutes?
I
What
think
is-
most of the time it's 50 minutes. But sometimes,
Well, it's not even an hour if we're going to get down to
it's
it.
probably 50 minutes. You could probably even get away with 45 minutes. It's really about the quality of the material and whether you can sustain that for a period. I also think like story, worthy, there's a structure to it that, everything has to be somewhat cohesive, because you have these little, we do so many 6-minute shows, shows where we do 6 minutes. Then to try and put it all together and make it really, like you said, make some kind of a turn. I think you have to do that. Make some kind of a turn.
Well, I think that does exist. Like, in other words, personally, I know I have like a 7-minute chunk on flight attendant.
Yeah.
6 minutes on Peace Corps.
Yeah.
10 minutes on my kid. Like, I do have.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like 10 regular normal jokes. The Olympics coming, or did you hear that, or whatever.
Current kind of things.
Yeah. So that is it.
Oh yeah, you have it. You have it. You just need to
Well,
figure out how you're going to work it. Because that's the other thing. How are you going to work this 50 minutes? You can't go to the fourth wall, or maybe you can, like, book out the fourth wall or whatever. How do you work it?
Or you could rent a space. But I mean, if you just work on this 10-minute chunk, then that 10-minute chunk, then that 10-minute chunk, and then you'd have to get somewhere where you could do a half hour or whatever. But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Do you believe that after you put a special out, you can't do that material anymore?
No, I don't believe that. Jerry Seinfeld says he just has an act, and it's however long that act is, and he's developed it over his entire career, and so he doesn't even think of things in chunks of specials. But then there's I think what it is, and I just actually saw Patton Oswalt saying this in some short or whatever. He was saying, if you can do an hour show and it goes out online or on Netflix or whatever it is, and then people come to see your show and you do a completely different hour, you've got fans for life. That's what he said. So if you can do that, that would be the ideal. But I think every comedian is different. And I just think
that, like, the first special, I don't think it'll be that hard, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then after that, in other words, because I've been doing stand-up for 20 years, you get the first one, okay, then what?
That's why Steve Martin quit doing comedy. You know what I mean? Like, really early on, if you read his book, part of it was because everybody was expecting him to do the same stuff every time, because he was more like a rock star. And so people were mouthing the words along, but also because he was like, it took me so long to get that material together. I don't know if I have anything else.
It's the same as, like, if you write a novel or you put out the album. Where's the second album? Well, my God, I just finished that album.
Well, then I guess it's time for you to start stealing, like Led Zeppelin. They put out many great albums. They stole it from all the blues players.
Hey, did you watch Becoming Led Zeppelin?
No, I would like to watch that. It sounds good. Is it good?
It's good. It's really good. I'm a big fan of rock band documentaries.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Oh, me too.
I don't know how I missed that. The only reason I probably have missed it is because
it just came on. It just came because it was in theaters.
I see.
It just came on Netflix a couple weeks ago. I think it's Netflix.
I would love that. So Todd Lee says he was serious. He looked it up. He gets it. It's a combination of iPod, broadcast. Gen Alpha probably has no idea why it's called a podcast. I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't have iPods anymore, so who knows?
Right.
Who knows why? We've run out of time. It's at the end of the show. So I can't believe it. I'm so glad to have you on the show, Christine, after seeing you for so many years. I don't know how we never got together. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're really good at it.
I appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to play a song. This is a dance break. It's a very short song, uplifting. We just kind of dance around, say thanks to everybody for watching the show. If you want to find out more, which I'm sure you do, about Christine Blackburn, you can go to her website. And also, there's a link in the show notes to your link tree, but you can binge My Life in 3 Songs. You can go to Story Smash, of course, which is at the Lyric Hyperion. The next one is in August, I believe.
Yeah, August 8th.
August 8th. And then, of course, Storyworthy, which is available on all your podcasting outlets. There's some great stories there.
I put Story Smash on Storyworthy, so you can hear it.
I see.
The game show's on.
Oh, yeah, the game show's on there, too, so that's cool.
The game show's on the podcast. It's in the feature film.
It's everywhere. It's going to be in the one-person show. Holy, Jeff Lohman just showed up. Super Jeff here. That's Super Jeff Lohman. All right, thanks so much. We'll dance it out now. Michael J. Gonzalez, who's an L.A. Native, is singing the song. Dance break time.
Dance break.
We're gonna ride till we fall.
I'm like addicted to this.
No future at all. They wanna keep us out, can't hold us down anymore. Gonna ride till we fall.
When we hit the bottom, nothing's gonna stop us. Climb to the top with you. We could be the greatest ones who ever made it. Yeah, I could be talking you. They're trying to hate, but we won't change anything at all. Oh, we're gonna rise till we fall. They think we just dropouts, living at our mom's house. Parents must be so proud, they know it all. They don't speak our language, they say we're too savage. Yeah, no, we don't give up anymore. We're gonna rise till we fall. We're gonna rise till we fall.
All right, thanks everybody for being here today. Lunch therapy. See you next week.